In the Shadow of the Valley by Maggot Moshpit, Chapter 19.
What do you mean there aren't any ships ready?
The dock manager was utterly unfazed by all the yelling and the aftermath of the earlier violence around him. He shrugged, his paws in the pockets of his greasy overalls.
My apologies, miss, but the one they stole was the only one set to depart today, and so was the only one that was provisioned.
Tezar jabbed him with her sword.
Get one ready. We need it by yesterday.
The dock manager slowly shook his head.
It'll take a good long time to provision another ship, not to mention getting the ore slaves together.
Zick looked around at the ships that were docked. He pointed to a fast, two-tiered ship.
We're commandeering that ship. Get it provisioned as fast as you can.
What about slaves?
Damn it, we can row ourselves. Get moving.
The dock manager nodded and loped off. Tezar followed Zick as he raced aboard the ship, the footfalls of their soldiers making an almost musical sound on the deck planks. Zick gestured to the hold doors.
Get down there and get into position. Rowing is just like making love. You'll get the hang of it.
Some of the soldiers grumbled and reluctantly descended into the holds, most shedding their weapons. Zick stopped Farrell before he ducked into the door.
Wait, I need you to find my brothers and round up any stragglers. Hurry! We don't want to lose sight of them.
Farrell nodded and vaulted off the side of the ship onto the dock, where he landed in a run. Zick and Tezar both gazed out into the horizon, where the stolen ship floated, caught in some current and drifting. The father stepped up as well.
I wish you luck, and I will be looking forward to watching those blasphemers' public execution.
He wobbled slightly.
I hate water.
He left hastily. Zick and Tezar exchanged glances.
Funny.
Yeah, felines love water.
Redrick's life was not over, but it would be soon. He could feel the last drops of life seeping from his broken body. He coughed, the snow under him doing nothing for the pain from his broken bones. The crunch of snow could be heard nearby. Two felines walked up, the slave master and the night watchman.
Hey, he's still alive.
He's tough. I'll give him that.
The slave master's boot landed before Redrick's dimming eyes. He reached out and grabbed it, finding the little strength he had left in him to speak.
You were the one.
What? What are you saying?
You.
His arm went limp. The slave master only had to glance at his face to know he was gone.
Strange. Ah, well, bury him here. The earth is soft and unfrozen.
As they began shifting the earth with their weapons, the slave master frowned.
I think he had a sister, right?
I don't remember. We've disposed of so many of these things, it's all a blur.
The slave master shrugged and pushed Redrick's corpse into the shallow hole they dug for him. As they packed the earth down, Redrick's dead hand was shoved further into the earth. It came into contact with another, and he was finally reunited with his kin. Pill, Martin, and Kethresh entered the cabin, where an impressive array of navigational instruments awaited them. The room was large, but most of it was taken up by a long table with a hand-drawn map on it. Martin had no idea what any of the accoutrements did, but Pill seemed to know his way around. He pulled down a long lever with a creak and a clang, then stood on the map and opened a shutter in the ceiling. A series of mirrors and slits in the ceiling, combined with the sun's unhindered rays, allowed for a projection of the suns onto an empty space on the table. The empty space had a dial on it, with 4 cardinal directions carved into the wood. The suns made a line, one orange and one blue, and one was always touching a carving. Pill compared the map to the dial.
We need to head south.
The ship was apparently pointed west. Martin looked around.
How do we steer?
He pointed to a door.
Steering room is there. You two start turning, and when I say straighten out, you straighten out. Our momentum should hold long enough to turn us.
Martin expected a small wheel, like he always imagined they looked like in stories, but what he got was 4 very large wheels, half sunken into the ground. Kethresh spat on her paws.
This is gonna take some doing. This is a huge ship we need to shift.
Martin cracked his knuckles.
I've worked as a blacksmith for 30 years. My muscles are ready for anything.
Kethresh grabbed one, and Martin another.
Ready.
All right, my left. Hard.
Pill yelled, unnecessarily loud, seeing as he was standing in the doorway. With two mighty heaves, Martin and Kethresh were able to slowly turn the giant wheels. They felt the ship turn gently as Pill ran back to the compass. After a few seconds, he yelled back,
All right, straighten it out.
Martin had no idea exactly how far he had turned the wheel. He started turning back anyway.
Kethresh, how far did we turn? I can't remember.
There's a symbol on the wheel. When it's straight, the symbol is on top.
Oh.
Soon he saw the notch and held the wheel steady. Pill nodded.
All right, we're on course.
Martin and Kethresh joined him in the map room again. Martin looked at him, worried they may never get back to his home.
All right, Pill. Time to tell me where it is we're going.
He grinned and placed his claw on the map.
Why, we're going to Frostblight, of course.
To Garth, he had lost at life. He was too greedy and too manipulative, and he lost. After running, broke, cold, and hungry from the canine army's camp, he thought he was home free. But then, as he stumbled through the woods towards Frostblight, he realized he wasn't supposed to live. Of course, this was obvious, but he was too preoccupied with more imminent problems to realize he couldn't safely return to the Regent. He stopped, now unsure of what to do. Where would he go? He had no survival skills. He was just a city boy. He decided to just try and rough it in the wild. Turned out he didn't need to worry, because within 2 days he was found by some capital soldiers and hauled off as an ore slave. At that point, Garth had given up. Of course, to his surprise, the ship was stolen not long after he was thrown down into it, and by Rita, no less. Harimau was between the two in an instant.
What are you doing here, traitor?
Garth's mind started spinning, and his dishonest gears began to turn. He had to mentally suppress them.
I'm a slave now.
I can see that. I suppose it's a fate fitting you.
Rita put her paw on Harimau's arm.
Harimau, come on. Don't be like that.
Like what?
He's chained up. He can't hurt me. You don't need to protect me all the time.
It's not like I'm going to try and jump you.
Shut up, Garth.
Rita spat. Harimau shuffled uncomfortably.
Sorry.
They looked at each other for a while, until Harimau spoke again.
What do we do with him?
Throw him over the side?
Garth shook his head.
No, wait, I
Did
really...
I tell you? You could speak? I can't believe I slept with you, you disgusting bastard! How could you do such a thing to your own kind? Harimau, don't touch me! I said I didn't need protecting!
Harimau had to restrain Rita.
It's not you I'm protecting!
She untangled herself from Harimau and stormed off. At this point, everyone was watching the spectacle. Harimau stared back, and everyone returned to minding their own business. Bronze walked over to Harimau, glanced at Garth, who was hiding his face.
What was that?
Harimau cast one last disdainful glance at Garth before walking to the front of the ship with Bronze.
Let me tell you. No, don't worry about Rita. I expect she would like to be left alone.
Really?
Martin said with disbelief. Pill nodded enthusiastically.
Yeah, I created Drafrasa's dagger to aid the war effort to the canines. And you want to liberate your town from the felines. We kill 2 insects with 1 stone like this.
Martin grabbed Pill's paw.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Pill waved his paw, pushing Martin away.
It's nothing. Now, I'm going to look at these maps. They're quite expansive.
Martin stood, dumbstruck, until Kethresh grabbed his ear. Martin and Kethresh exited the cabin and looked back at the capital, which was now facing their broadside.
Let's get the sail up. The wind is favorable.
Kethresh looked up at one of the giant masts. A little flag on top of one confirmed Martin's observation.
How?
Pill!
A shout came from the cabin.
What?
How do we raise sails?
I don't know.
As Pill answered, Rita stormed from the staircase and ran across the ship, entering one of the doors on the other side. Martin had no idea where it led. Kethresh approached the mast and began untangling the ropes as she worked out how they worked.
I was never in the Navy.
Martin wanted to help, but there wasn't much he could do. He just watched. Slowly, a few things surfaced in his mind. 1, Pill was a feline, and 2, what would happen once they got to Frostblight? Drafrasa's dagger was a potent weapon, and in the right hands it would be the deciding factor in any battle. Honestly, Martin didn't see the point in continuing the fight. More senseless violence. Felines killing canines, on and on through history. He shook his head. They have to die. Sure, a few, like Pale and Frey, were good people, but as a general rule, felines must die. If that was true, though, how then would he explain everything he'd experienced? An excited cry from Kethresh snapped him out of it.
Got it!
What?
Take this.
She pressed a rope into his paw, then ran to the other side of the ship with her own rope.
Pull!
Martin hesitated for a moment, then pulled down as hard as he could. He felt something give, then a shadow fell over him. The sail dropped quickly, filling with wind and pushing them onward. Martin almost lost his balance as they accelerated. Kethresh was able to pull both ropes on the second sail herself, as it was much smaller. She wiped her brow and turned to Martin.
Well, that should do it.
Yep. What was that girl who ran by a minute ago upset about? Rita, wasn't it?
I don't know. Maybe you should see?
Martin looked at the door Rita had gone into. He decided he wasn't feeling particularly helpful. The room was very dark, a good place to gather one's thoughts. Rita walked until she found a wall, then slumped against it. When Rita was alone, she often spoke to herself. It was a habit that died hard.
Why do you follow me, Garth? I don't need to deal with your shit right now. You stalk my dreams. Must you also stalk my physical being as well?
The darkness said nothing in response. Rita crossed her arms.
Well, I'm not letting him screw with me again. No foolish notions of love this time. No betrayal.
This time, the darkness did respond.
My name's not Garth.
A candle was lit, illuminating Arbalest's face. A candle was lit, illuminating Arbalest's face. He was perched atop a tall chest. Rita sprang up, reaching for the sword that no longer hung by her side.
What? Who?
Calm down, Rita. It's only me.
She relaxed slightly.
You were on deck. I didn't catch your name.
Arbalest is what they call me.
Rita cocked her head.
Odd name. Was your mother a crossbow?
Very funny. Never heard that one before. What are you doing in here? And who's Garth?
She sat back down.
He's a little bitch, is who he is.
Okay.
Rita yawned loudly.
I don't want to talk about it.
She looked around the room, seeing it was lined with weapons on one side and armor on the other. The room extended towards the rear of the ship and ended in a staircase further down.
Whoa.
Yeah, this is a warship. Sure enough.
Rita rubbed her stomach.
Warship or not, it's giving me motion sickness.
Arbalest jumped down off the chest.
Let's see what this thing's got in it, shall we?
Rita staggered up.
Sure. Just as soon as I find my legs.
The ship was loaded in no more than 30 minutes. Zick, Ziff, and Zip were all aboard, as well as most of the soldiers, and a few police officers. A few soldiers still slept somewhere in the city, and would wake up with their commanding officers gone. Ziff yelled down into the ship.
Start her moving!
There was a collective grunt as the first stroke was taken. The sails flapped, not catching the wind yet. Zip was in the cabin.
Hard left, boys!
On this particular ship, the steering wheels were in the same room as the navigational equipment, and there was less room to move around. As the soldiers turned the wheels with ease, the creaking ship turned to pursue the escaping fugitives. Their quarry was to their right, but this was not what they were focusing on. They were looking at a thin gray line that sat just above the horizon. Tezar's mouth barely moved.
Ominous.
Zick brought the telescope down from his eye.
It's a storm, all right. A bad one, too.
Tezar gave him the sideways glance.
How bad?
If you mean to ask if we will be safe, I can't tell.
Tezar felt a sudden shock through her body. She clutched her stomach, but kept a calm demeanor.
At least they're in a similar position.
It's not much consolation.
He shook his head and turned around.
Oh, Tezar?
Yes, sir?
Her hormones made it difficult for her to speak. Zick chuckled.
You're putting on a little weight.
He laughed and walked off. Tezar glanced around quickly, then slumped to the deck planks with a sigh. It wouldn't be long until she couldn't hide it anymore. Kethresh and Martin watched their pursuers launch. Watched with grim faces. Martin muttered.
They are persistent. I'll give them that.
Kethresh simply huffed. The other ship caught the wind on its sails. Martin took this momentary lapse in action to relax some. He'd been on edge for a long time. A thought sprang into his head.
Hey.
Hmm?
You remember those felines we passed on Jeffrey's dagger?
She averted her eyes.
Yes, I do.
You seem to know who they were. I was curious because it seems hard to believe that the feline king would neglect his own kind like that.
He trailed off. The expression on Cathresh's face said he was wrong.
Those were fugitives, Martin.
He raised an eyebrow.
Why were you crying?
She pushed away from the rail.
Guilt.
Martin watched as she disappeared into the cabin. Cathresh shut the cabin door and sat on a nearby bench. Pale took a minute to notice her presence.
Ah, Cathresh, what is it?
I traveled a long way and deserted my unit to find you. I don't even know why I searched for you. Specifically, I mean.
Pill sat on a bench on the other side of the room, clearly not comfortable with sitting still, even for a brief period.
Well, I try my best at things. What is it you want? I owe you.
Absolution.
Pill tapped his foot quickly.
I'm no priest.
Cathresh waved her paw.
My god has offered no answers. So I thought I should find the most logical, down-to-earth person to tell me what's right.
Pill nodded.
Yeah, that's me, I guess. What'd you do then?
I fell in love.